Overall, we're just really... This is zone 3? Are we in zone 3 yet? I should have checked better. I'll probably recognize it. Yes, that's a lie. How's my battery doing? It's okay, not amazing. Nothing's on to drain it, right? Besides my car in general. Unfortunately, doing a scan does use battery. A lot of... just so many wrecks. Okay, there's 2 things of tree candy up there. That's something worth looking into. Especially since it's more than 2 things of tree candy. It recommends the normal hand vac. I don't see it increasing my yield because it looks like it's just a specific number of nodes coming out. So I'm not sure. It's probably a time to not waste my thermal vacuum. But I'll nab up that tree candy. I think we at least occasionally run out of it still. It's not the most... I don't think it's the biggest deal of a resource, but... it's not one of those resources that I have 300 of or anything. Oh my god, that amount of metal. That is a goofy amount of metal. Yeah, not totally in love with the fact that using the scanner obviously uses some power each time. But we'll see what I can find. Oh, this isn't a swamp. It's dried up. Let's get through this zone. That's a whole ass Ballard or whatever. Can I get any? No, that's not stuff. Okay. Oh, there's an anchor right there. There's a red anchor right over there. Oh, and down there is something being powered by plasma. Oops, I still have not gotten another crowbar. This one won't last long either. Yeah. Ah! It's happening again. Yep, there they are. Yeah, see, sometimes it's definitely obviously because these guys are around. Yeah, cause it's like a sign that they've spawned around. But then they don't attack me. That confuses me much more. Oh, they're everywhere. So sometimes it seems like farming particular spots makes them generate... Hello? Is that my sap? Is that my beautiful, beautiful sap? Grab me a funnel and fill me up. Oh my goodness. I've never broken one of these with the new one. Have I? Because I never find these. Oh my god, it's so much more. Oh, I really wish I had this sooner in the process. This is comical. Alright, so we're finally getting one of the things. That's always a good sign. I don't think I've dropped any. Can I farm all? Yay! I found a nice little corner where I could break all 4 of them at once. That's efficiency, bro. At this point, I'm like, why am I even gathering metal anymore? I genuinely will never know what to do with the rest of it. All right, damn. Seeing glowy things in the distance is nice. I came here for the plasma, and more importantly, what it implied would be nearby, which is more stuff. That's not a thing, is it? Okay. Yeah, the struggle is that I want amber, which is glowy red. But a lot of the environment is already red, and then there are also enemies that are glowy red. I have once again broken my thing, so I hope there's not a locker up here full of, oh, clothing. I do still need clothing. Fabric is a expensive enough or rare enough thing, and also every clothing upgrade I think costs like 50 of it or something. Like a lot. So it is in demand. Until I am done with the clothing tree. And then it will be less in demand. Because at that point, all you're going to be able to do with it is take one of them and mix it with an alcohol to make a Molotov cocktail. Or a med kit. Haha, that's not relevant to what I'm talking about. Teehee ooh. I was joking about The Last of Us. Talking about... I really do love The Last of Us for a lot of reasons. I think the storytelling is very good. I think the gameplay is really solid. I think people are weird about that series for some reason. I mean, not for some reasons, for obvious reasons. It became a political thing to hate those games, and so people are ideologically motivated to hate them and then work backwards from there. Which does not mean that everyone who doesn't like them is, like, inherently insane, but the conversation around them sure is, and that sucks. But they're actually very solid examples of a lot of game design, and they're just generally quite good for a number of reasons, and it's weird how much has become a thing to, like, pretend otherwise. Let's see. That's one of those thingies again. I don't think I have any to-do list stuff around here. I think I'm ready to go. Like, as far as crafting systems goes, there's so many games about gathering resources and crafting, but they rarely actually ask anything of you. So even though it's relatively simple, I do quite like the fact that in The Last of Us, they have this clever system where you have very limited inventory space, and so the stuff you're gathering, you can only carry so much of it. And then when you get certain things, you're very much given these binary choices built into how to use the individual resources. So one, those are games about having a finite number of overall resource types, so the overall economy of the game is pretty comprehensible and not overwhelming and full of insane stuff, because most games really overpopulate their economies with just so many types of resources that it becomes incomprehensible. Morse, is that sap? Looks like it's floating. Doo-doo-doo. I'm so sorry, but I think I had a topic in mind when I transitioned into that last loading screen, and then I forgot because I took a longer break during that loading screen than I meant to. So sorry if I suddenly dropped a topic that I was talking about. Hello. But like, one of the nice little clever things about The Last of Us is just the way that they, within their finite number of items, they make you make important decisions. And like, I think having less complex games is actually really good in a lot of cases, because like, there's a lot of games that are really overwhelming with their sheer amount of stuff. Like in a, wasn't there a, I thought there was a attribute building here. Did I forget it or lose it? It's fine. If you're playing like Tears of the Kingdom or something and you have your 1 billion strange interface items, you're technically being asked choices about what to spend them on, and it's like, should you spend this on an armor upgrade or should you spend it on crafting this thingy? And that's not necessarily a bad choice, but it's so obfuscated because you don't have an immediate understanding of what you can spend the thing on unless you've memorized everything. You might have a particular goal that comes to mind that you've been holding in your brain, and that's the thing you'll immediately use it on because that's what you remember. Whereas there's probably better choices you could have spent it on, but you don't realize that because you forgot that that object even does that, because the game is so big that you can't hold all the recipes in your mind at the same time, let alone the additional element of there being so many. It is fucking leaking again. Oh my goodness, I am really tempted to make that leak-proof tank just for the fact that, holy shit, I cannot believe how often this thing leaks, and the, like, cataclysmic consequences that could potentially have. Like, I find that in a lot of games, I don't really know the optimum thing to do with resources, and I get choice paralysis, or I use a bunch of stuff, and then I go over there, and I'm like, ah, fuck, I just reached the upgrade person, and it turns out that I could have used this on a really important thing I actually really wanted to do, but I didn't remember that this specific leaf is only usable on this thing, and I used it to make rations, and it's like, because you don't understand the choice, it's not satisfying. It feels almost, in a way, it almost feels unfair when you make the wrong choice, because you're like, I can't keep all this in my head, man, this is just, it's not fun to even have to think about all this all the time. But in The Last of Us is really clean. It's like, okay, an alcohol, if you get an alcohol and a scrap of fabric, you can turn that into, what is that? Oh, it's the friendly thingy I can scan. I've been wondering about this. You can turn that into a Molotov cocktail. Or, there's a happy hair. Hey, happy hair. Uh-oh. Do you repair my car, or do you hurt me? You bounce off my car. Okay, that's not very helpful. It's just the one that seems friendly. Maybe it just doesn't do anything to you at all. You can make a Molotov cocktail, or a medkit. And those are interesting in particular because it's a friendly resource and a hostile resource. You can use it to create a very effective way of causing a lot of damage to a number of enemies, or you can use it to heal yourself. And like, obviously healing resources are very finite, but it's also a powerful weapon. So making it so that you have to choose between a powerful way of making up for your mistakes, or a powerful tool that might prevent risks by eliminating enemies powerfully or effectively, that's a really interesting choice to have to make. It's a risk-reward thing. Sometimes a good defense is a good offense, and so on. So it's like, would you prefer to? Did I just craft this and then it's trash? Oh, there must have been another one in my inventory that just weirdly wasn't equipping. Weird. And on a similar level, there's the shivs. When you get, I think, scissor and tape or something like that, you can craft a shiv. And you always craft the shiv, technically, but the shiv has two uses. You can either use it to sneak up on and one-shot the clickers throughout the game, which are the scariest enemy besides the mini-bosses, I guess. Clickers are very upsetting, and they're meant to be really dangerous. They're a thing you can't normally fight reasonably. You have to stealth past them. All careful-like, and you can't just beat them up like all the other zombies or enemies. But you also use the shivs to force a lockpick. You'll find locked things, and you don't lockpick in this game. So if you want to open these special caches full of resources, you need a shiv to like break the lock. And in both cases, the shiv is consumed, so it's gone. And I'm like, that's really fucking interesting, because that's making you make this choice between these two things you really want. I love that. So this thing should recharge my battery. Like, that's great game design. That's fantastic, and it's finite in a way that's comprehensible. And I think that's really important. I want to make a video trying to get into that topic on a platform that people actually like listen to on a larger scale, and like take that into consideration. Especially since, like, if I have enough. Oh god, the storm is electromagnetic and it's fucking with my entire. Oh my god, stop. It's fucking with my car. I don't know if I can escape it because it keeps turning my car on and off. Let me go. Uh-oh. This is gonna be a left-right. Okay, I think I missed the left-right somehow. Oh my god, this sucks. Stop. Why am I turning right now? Oh my god, this is the worst storm. Are those thermal thingies, though? I do want that. I might need to just let my car freak out for a minute. Let's turn the brake on. Something's freaking out. The appeal of brakes is that they're not I think they're not electronic, so I think they can't do that. Like, I think that games with the need to make so much loot and so much stuff, I think a lot of, like, the stuff you actually get from loot is less satisfying because you don't have an immediate, clear emotional response to it. Unless it's just the emotional response of, like, yay, loot! And that's enough to make you always excited all the time. Which I think wears off. I think that as you mature as a gamer, you become less interested in just the simple idea of opening loot pinatas all the time and being like, yay! Because it's like, okay, yeah, I've had my Skinner box part of my brain abused for the last decade. You can't, that's dead now. You can't keep pressing that button for a free reward video game. You need to actually give me an experience or something that I care about. And people, I'm so sorry if you've heard this rant before my other playthroughs because I've talked about it before, but like, I think that the heart piece in Zelda is like one of the best items in the history of video games. Because it gives you permanent increases to your health. And you immediately, and you know you want that. Your health get bigger. Especially when in Zelda, your health bar starts at 3 hearts and can maximize at 20 hearts. That is a huge range of upgrade over the course of the game. So you really should be finding heart pieces. And you get a heart container, which is 4 or 5 heart pieces, 1 full heart worth, from every boss fight. But the heart pieces are throughout you exploring and doing side things and being observant and being a good, cool gamer boy. Okay, they've just put a satellite right here. Okay, the storm has moved on, thankfully. My car has stopped freaking out, and the battery is not well. Damn. Fuck. I might want to find that. Okay, there's a charger here. Like, I think Zelda had such a good formula for so long because of how clear its mechanics were. And how clearly communicated that stuff was. And I'm so annoyed that Zelda became about crafting. Because crafting, when there's too many types of items and too many things to do with them, it just becomes you compulsively collecting things without any particular goal, then going back to the base and being like, I don't know, man, can I do something now? Because like, you can't hold every single thing in your brain at once and always remember, like, what does a bramble do? What does a tree spider do? This game, I can capture 17 types of spiders in this game, Skyward Sword. What do all these spiders do? And it's like, man. It's like we used to have heart pieces, man. And then, in fact, that game still had heart pieces. It hadn't gone totally wrong yet. Grab these. They're supposed to go in the other place. Like, when Zelda gives you a bottle, you're like, oh my god, that's one of the only bottles in this entire game. When Zelda gives you a heart piece, you're like, oh my god, permanent health upgrade. When Zelda gives you a tumbleweed, a real item in Skyward Sword, you're like, what the fuck? What do I do with this? And maybe you even remember what you do with that, but maybe you don't. But you're going to collect it either way, because it's just on the floor in front of you. And so these games become about running around and compulsively picking things up all the time, because maybe it'll come in handy later. And when you get to Breath of the Wild and Skyward and Tears of the Kingdom, you're just habitually grabbing all the shit off the ground and off of the trees and collecting butterflies and bugs for no reason. And then you have an inventory with 70 beetles in it, and you're like, maybe one day it does a thing. And the games buy into that, because the games will be like, yeah, you need this specific bug, and this specific thorn, and this specific ore to upgrade your shield in Skyward Sword. And there's similar lines to that. Like, you finally get to, when you finally unlock the drag queen, great fairies in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they do just give you a bizarre amalgam of random bullshit as your target, and like, yeah, you need this flower to upgrade your armor for some reason, and you're like, why is that? How am I making an armor out of a flower? So you just then go back to compulsively grabbing every single thing that's ever on the floor because, well, maybe it'll do something one day. And, like, that's not satisfying. That's not as satisfying. That's never as satisfying as grabbing a thing you know you specifically need for a specific thing. Like, I hated that Tears of the Kingdom had that underworld where they want you to farm ore for, like, 100 hours. That was tedious. But at least when you were farming the ore, you knew what it did, because it was the one, for the whole playthrough, that ore was really valuable for that one upgrade. Alright, our battery's great now. They did not just dump a third fucking satellite right here. That might be the second one of this map, actually. It's like, a bottle was like, there's 5 bottles in the game, and the heart pieces are major. Collecting beetles is stupid. And similarly, like The Last of Us having a really finite economy means when every time you grab a bottle or whatever, not bottle's a bad example. Bottles are the items you throw during stealth. You don't craft with them. Even though it would make sense to craft with them. Every time you grab one of like the 6 types of items in The Last of Us, you know what it is, and you know whether or not it helps you build the thing you really want right now that would turn everything around for you. And that's part of why I like games like Subnautica a bit more than other open-world survival games, is that it often does at least do a better job at some of that stuff. The backseat tank. This stuff's excessive. I don't need all this shit. Just grabbing what I need. Which wasn't that good, honestly. Oh, I can't fit any of this stuff. Damn. Alright, we're getting a little yellow. It's about time we got out of the zone before things get worse. It's one of my biggest criticisms of Elden Ring, but I have a lot of criticisms of Elden Ring, and a lot of it's just the fact that they made it open world in the first place. And that's messy, because Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are both very good games. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is very good. But Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are both very good, and they both very specifically do interesting things with being open world, but I don't think they make up for how uninteresting being an open world makes their original formula. I think they're both a step down from the games that came before them, because their open world stuff just does not bring enough to the table. Did I just leave this open somehow? I think the open world stuff just doesn't bring enough to the table to make up for the dilution of those games and their formula that worked so well by being so padded out and boring. I do largely view open world as a cynical attempt to just increase audience appeal, to be mass market, and that's always, and we all know that's bad. Like, it's cool, I mean, it's good for them to make more money, obviously, and it's not universally bad to be popular, and things aren't always worse because they're popular, but just because open world games are more popular doesn't mean that the open world is actually, like, better in any particular way. And it's a bummer that open world kind of became an expectation, and games are criticized for being linear or not being open world, when most of the time a linear game has better pacing, like The Last of Us and so on. Like, those are well-paced, well-executed experiences that you can't get from an open world. And less linear, but still not open world games like Dark Souls have a very specific Metroidvania-ish structure based around exploration and a compactness where the level design is so tight that you could draw the levels from memory. And I've done that before. As an exercise, I did a thing that was like, draw a video game from memory, and I invited people to participate, and I specifically did Dark Souls 1, and drew like the first like 5 zones from memory. And it's not like perfect or anything, but like you can just do it, because the game is so packed and well designed that you can remember it all, and open world is unfortunately much less memorable. Or at best is a big blob of like, yeah, there's like something to the north-ish, but it's not like a compact level, it's a bunch of open field, and generally speaking, there's like a billion enemies, but like, who's fighting all these enemies in Dark Souls and Breath of the Wild and so on? Like, I just run around them, because there's a whole world around them. There's no reason to stop and fight things, because they're not actually obstacles in my way in a level. They're They're just wandering around in the environment. It's like how every time I see one of those caravans that's dragging a chest through an environment in Elden Ring, I do just run up to the chest and loot it past all of the giant caravan of people that are guarding it, and then run away. I don't fight a single person that's actually around it because they can't make me, and it would be counterproductive to do so. I'd lose health and lose healing resources. I'd take damage. I could die, and they're probably not going to drop anything interesting. So it's like, why would I engage? We are so off topic and just rambling forever at this point. This zone has concussive blasts and a high resource yield. Ooh. Unfortunately, a large amount of anomaly. Oh, that's a large amount of atmospheric shifts, so it's a lot of storms. It has maximum zone storm. It's not going to start immediately because the junction stability is up there, the timer. But the storms... It sounds like the storm is very bad when it happens, damage-wise. I should be able to get some exploration and farming out. But yeah, I think games would benefit from being simpler as far as like resources go, because the more you immediately understand what something means, the more you have an emotional reaction to getting it, and the more impactful and interesting that feels. And everything else feels like a lack of restraint in many cases. The infinite spam of a giant inventory. At some point, I don't think people are looking at their giant inventory in Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom and being like, wow, look at all this stuff I got. At some point, you're just like, Jesus Christ. you open that one fucked up scrolling bar that they give you for your inventory where you have to scroll through every item one by one, and almost everybody's just like, oh man. It's really hard to find the thing that I want. Oh, purple. Let's fuel up and grab some purple. See? 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 I know I want purple, so I'm like, oh, fuck, a purple. It's that easy. It's important. Ah! I flew. It just hit different if you do it right. Just like how I'm like, oh my god, a gas station. I know what gas stations are. I'm thinking about gas and I'm thinking about energy all the time, so I'll quickly memorize which things resolve my gas and energy problems and pursue those things. Whereas when I collect plastic, I'm like, I'm already kind of in the territory of like, I don't know if I need this, but it might come in handy. So I am just kind of compulsively looting because I don't want to miss out on, like, it doesn't cost me that much to loot it, and what if I need it? So I should probably grab it in that kind of loop. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, magnetic hammer, not hammer. Yeah, it is mining. I'm not gonna use a vacuum, right? Not a lot of it. All right, gotta hope for some more. Gonna head inside. Okay. But I never finished my previous topic, I guess. I've had a few of them dangling in this particular episode, I think. But on the topic of open world stuff, we talked about Kamurocho for a while, and I kind of never got to Pathologic. But if you haven't seen my Pathologic playthroughs or played Pathologic, and you care about game design, and you especially wonder about how to make open world interesting instead of trash, you need to look at Pathologic. Admittedly, you have a little bit of an idea what Pathologic is, because you probably know what Dead Rising is, and Dead Rising, that's a Bigfoot. Dead Rising takes after Pathologic enough that it almost feels like it was directly inspired. Is there not a single loot item in here? Damn. Ransacked. I genuinely feel like the people that made Dead Rising played Pathologic on some level, but I could be wrong. It's not the same thing exactly, but there's enough there that it makes me wonder. This whole thing is full, yep. Got some bonus jumper cables. But Pathologic is a game where there's a pandemic. Pandemic isn't technically descriptor, because pandemic means is across the world. But there's an outbreak in a town, and you get stuck in it as a quarantine. You can't leave. Hello. You give me something. And so you play as one of 3 characters, and over the course of like a week or so, you go around and you try to gather resources, maintain your survival meters. You have like a hunger meter, a thirst meter, an immunity meter, which is your immunity to the disease, sleep, health, and so on. The basics. There's like 5 or 6 meters. And so you're trying to maintain all those resources, but you're also trying to maintain do your job, which is fighting against the outbreak and trying to cure it. So you're doing mandatory quests and side quests and so on. But while you're doing all this... Oh, it's this thing, not that thing. Oh, what, did I see a thing? No, it's that. Magnetizer. While you're trying to do all these tasks and keep all these meters running and so on, the game is running in real time. So it just goes through its week-long schedule, day and night. Even when nighttime falls, it never actually transitions into. It never like has a like loading screen or like a dead end or a reset point. It literally just seamlessly go day and night on a schedule, and you just play the whole game in real time. And you just have to try to juggle all these things at once. You have to do all these quests, try to keep your meters good, try not to fall apart, try to keep your supplies going, and so, if you don't keep up with the schedule, the game goes on without you. So this makes the open world really interesting because all of these quests you're doing are physically located somewhere in the game's world. So now the open world has a purpose because how? How is it leaking again? What even happened to it? What the fuck is up with this game at this point? I genuinely am baffled by this ever-leaking backseat tank. I guess it's because it's worn out, so it's just like... It must just be permanently... Let's see. I need to make more sealing kits. Like, it's a bit like this game, where it's like, okay, we have a bunch of timers, and we have an environment we're trying to navigate, and there's a bunch of stressors, and I have resources that are constantly ticking down and so on, and things that are getting worse. So I'm making judgment calls left and right, based on the information I have so far, about what I should do. So like, just like how I'm doing that in this game, Pathologic has you doing that over one contiguous story, where the entire story is happening in real time. The clock never stops. The entire environment is one continuous open world environment that is like a big city like Kamurocho and not like a massive continent or anything. And you just have to keep going. You're like, every moment you sleep, you're like, how many hours am I willing to give up to get the results of increasing my health, of fixing my sleep bar? Like, how much of that is worth it? And how much do I need to get back out there and get back to work? Akin to like how a real person might not have time to sleep 8 hours a night. Like, a lot of like decisions are being constantly made, and it's really interesting. And so like the fact that it's an open world and not like a series of linear like shooter levels is used very well, because you have an environment you're navigating. And it's the best of all the worlds there, where it's like, one, it's using the actual square mileage of the map as an obstacle and being like, okay, you need to do this within the next 3 hours of in-game time. Do you think you can get to this destination and perform what you need to do in time? Can you even get there? What's the fastest way to get there? What are the different ways of transit around this map? What's your favorite ways of getting around? And like, which ways of getting around might put you in proximity to resources that you really, really want, for example? You have a bunch of different reasons to make different choices, and maybe you don't make take the most efficient path, but maybe it's the safest path, or maybe it's the one that can actually really, really help you out. And what is that? Oh god, did I hit that? And the question even there is, what does that mean to you? This is gonna suck. Why are there so many here? Oh my god. Maybe they won't notice me? They might now. I think this thing tends to please don't drag me directly into the saw blade. But then the game hits you with and then the game will hit you with surprises, just like how this game does. which is that, like, you'll plan a route like I do in this game, and just like how these fuckers are ruining my life right now, you go into a particular neighborhood that you think you can cut through to reach your destination, and then that neighborhood, oh god, I just hit that saw blade, didn't I? Oh, you fuckers. Oh no, bomb bunnies. Oh Jesus Christ, this place sucks. Uh-oh. Oh god, and they're gonna hurt me through it too. I didn't take that much damage. I did get the resistance to bombs upgrade, thankfully. You go into a particular neighborhood that you think is safe and useful and a good path to take, and then it'll surprise you, like, sorry, that's one of the neighbors that the outbreak has reached today. It's currently burning through the entire population there, and like just setting foot in this area is actively dangerous to you every second you're here. And then you have the, oh god. Oh. How you doing, car? Not terribly. Bunnies are often not that bad of a threat, but they suck. So now you have the choice to make. Do you power through that zone, risk getting a permanent infection of the disease, and then having to manage that disease for the rest of the game, or taking damage, or all these other bad things that can happen? Do you risk your life to get through that zone and cut through and commit to your shortcut? Or do you lose hours by rerouting yourself all the way back in a different direction and take a much longer but safe route just so that you don't have to brave that really fucked up zone? Like, it's really, really interesting use of the game they made. And it reminds you, like, oh right, that's like the point of video games. Video games are supposed to be they're supposed to have levels. Everything in a game is supposed to be placed deliberately and serve a purpose for the pacing or the structure or the questions that the player is asking themselves. My tire's broken again. And games that don't do that are kind of wasting your time. It's like, you think about Mario, people always do that, talk about Mario 1-1 or whatever. It was like, yeah, everything in old Mario games was deliberately placed for a reason and was all about the structured experience. And increasingly games are just kind of like a big sandbox of random nonsense. Because we all took permanent psychic damage when Grand Theft Auto 3 was the #1 selling game in the world for like 18 months straight back in the day. And we've never recovered from making every game like that now.
Here's what we know. Over 50 years ago, in November of 1946, Dr. Ophelia Turner was 27. She had recently returned home to the Olympic Peninsula to lick her wounds after a failed stint in academia. In a fit of obsession or redemption, or quite frankly, both, she cobbled together a laboratory in her basement and produced the first Limwave on nothing but a killer hunch and plain ingenuity. Or so the story goes. It's never clearly stated anywhere what Limwaves and Lim technology really were. It's all vague claims and wild theories, dreams that border more on the mystical than the scientific. What we do know is that Lim stood for unlimited frequency. Radio waves, once souped up and modulated just right, supposedly enabled the control of matter in a way that modern science, both back then and now, could only dream of. After Dr. Turner's discovery, she and a few friends, scientists and PhDs all, toyed with Lim in their garage labs for about 4 years. The local police and fire departments start making regular house calls, spurred on by increasingly disgruntled neighbors calling in about incidents that seem to grow larger and more disturbing as the years go on. After one too many reports, the federal government takes notice. Thus begins their severe interest in Lim technology. The next part happens quickly. In 1955, the United States government seizes not only the physical area where Dr. Turner and her scientists live, but the entire concept of Lim technology. The area is at first evacuated under the pretense of safety, but quickly commandeered by the government. They establish a brand new department called ARDA, Advanced Resonance Development Authority, which was to be headed by Dr. Turner herself. Over the next 15 years, the government expands the zone's borders. They clear out civilians as they go and erect is public. The zone started in the northernmost tip of the peninsula, then expanded outward twice. Once in 1961, again in 1967, to the outer perimeter we see now.
This is good. Admittedly, it's hard for me to listen to those things sometimes when I'm like really trying to work at the game. This is gonna break. Oh, there it goes. Did I even get that, or did it follow the map? No, a storm. No, not now. See how distraught I am because of the fact that I have a clear emotional reaction to what's happening? Ow, fuck. No, I'm dying. Let me out. I have to leave behind all of these Olympium fragments. Oh, fuck me. Car, please. Are you on or off? I can't see or hear anything. I'm struggling to comprehend anything right now. Oh god. Please! Dude, that sucks. That was so much Olympium fragment. That's the second time where I've been around Olympium fragments and the worst storm ever happens right on my head. Amusingly, I feel like in a Wind Waker sort of way that this storm is... that was upsetting. That was huge. Yeah, I do feel like this storm is somewhat designed to launch things directly in front of your face for cinematic purposes, which is a little funny. Oh god, this sucks. Oh god. Dude, the radiation. So much of my car is fucked. Are you serious? It's literally going faster than me. I just need to stay still. Okay. Holy fuck, that storm moved so quickly that it literally was chasing me. Like I could not drive out of it. And I was literally prolonging my time in it by moving at all at some point. But obviously you gotta try to get away from all the death happening on you. Damn. Alright, jeez. Sometimes I wish my sensors would tell me what direction the storm is moving in so I could more accurately choose how to escape it, but obviously I was like logically trying to just head towards the exit because everything was getting bad and I was already being pursued by the existing, I was already being pursued by the other storm anyway, the main one. Brutal. Can I go back to that place and get that stuff again? I don't know where it was, first of all. And probably not. It looks pretty bad. Also, my bumper's about to fall off. My bumper that's full of metal again. Oh wow, I can't put it all in there. Alright, well that interrupted my train of thought a bit. What is that? What the fuck? What do you mean a corrupted anchor fell from the sky? Why did you have that? Are the visitors helping me at this point? I'm starting to think the visitors are just friends, except for when they explode. And I'm just thinking about the world building of this game and just like how like if this setting persisted long enough, the world building would be like somebody would try to take a visitor as a husband. He just really gets me, you know? Like not everyone thinks they can understand them, but I can understand them. It does feel like they don't attack me and they might genuinely help me at this point, which is wild. My inventory is extremely full. Like, damn. How did my nitro boost get into that position? Oh, yeah, that's where it's supposed to be. Wow. Okay, so yeah, these, go here now. Some wild how full my inventory is right now. Battery's doing great. Don't know how gas is doing. Gas is fine. Oh, I have to get out of here now. Oh, damn it. The road... I lingered for a little too long and didn't catch up on... I was thinking of the storm as being south of me, but it does close in as a circle. Where's this blade? I would have made it. It does close as a circle, and now the winding path back up top is, radzed up. Can I drive up this hill? Maybe. Oh, did I just enter the yellow? The yellow does not match the map. That's weird. They should make it match the map better. Okay, I think I can drive straight up this hill, thankfully. Which means I don't have to go zigzagging through the storm. Which this game specifically said is very bad in this zone. Yeah, Pathologic 1 and 2 are both master classes of how to make the world that that you're playing in really matter. And it also has that Kamurocho element where over the course of playing the game you become more and more familiar with the map, so you really do memorize different regions and routes through them, and even where hazards are most likely to spawn, and you really start to like get not comfortable exactly because the game's threatening you, but the power fantasy of that game ends up coming from the fact that you become familiar enough to make better decisions and to optimize your time in a way that you couldn't at the beginning. Instead of the Resident Evil version, which is that in Resident Evil you're helpless and trying to navigate this unknown world at the beginning and trying to figure out how to safely go from safe house to safe house and so on, and making risky choices about how to escape Mr. X and so on. But then by the end of Resident Evil you just get a giant shotgun and you kill everything with it to death really easily, and that's like the power fantasy there to some extent. I should convert some of this stuff to give myself more space, basically. It's not bad to become powerful, but I do notice that, like, I liked what Resident Evil was doing in the first part and feel a little disappointed when that part of the game is very clearly gone when you reach the later stuff. Yeah, I find Pathologic deeply interesting. In a way, Darkwood is technically a procedurally generated open world game of sorts too. But it is about, like, using that space interestingly also. Especially since the entire world becomes dangerous, so... Yeah, Darkwood's interesting because you have a day-night cycle, and it's also a survival game, like this game and Pathologic and stuff. Is this the same place I explored at the beginning? I don't know. I don't think so, because I don't remember this. Yeah, it's a different gas station. But in that game, there's a day-night cycle, and the world is full of horrible dangers the moment the sun goes down, and you have a base, so you need to be able to get back to your base. So the risk there is you're exploring as much as possible to navigate to scavenge like you do in these games. But the whole time you have to keep a mental note of what time of day it looks like it is based on the weather, and eventually based on a clock when you finally find a watch. And every time you navigate deeper into the world to explore, you're mentally having to keep track of, like, okay, how did I get here and how will I get back? How am I going to get back to where I was? Can I make it back in time? And also, can I even navigate back at all? Do I know where I am? Those are interesting problems to have. It's not blinking yet. Okay, now it is. Oopsie. I have a whole side fuel tank in my inventory? Did I just pick that up? I gotta get out of here. No more looting. So it's very interesting to be asked, like, how do I get back, especially when it's getting dark? Can I get back to where I was in time to not die, and then take all these spoils I found and successfully take them back in a way that we're, like, dealing with here, where we're always worried, like, will I make it back in my fucked up car and actually be able to benefit from this run, which so far has always been a yes, but the risk of being ever present, even if it's not that challenging, is still enough to have you emotionally engaged the whole time. And there's a similar loop of you build your upgrades and you try to survive better, and then you go back out looking for more, and you're objectives keep evolving of what stuff you want each time, and that's all very interesting too. Ooh, I'm just talking about game design lately. My problem with Darkwood is just the fact that it doesn't marry its story to its gameplay mechanics very well. Like this game is all about the challenge of going deeper, and it marries its story to going deeper. It's very good at that. Subnautica is even more explicitly about going deeper and marrying its narrative to the idea of going deeper and turning that into a compelling thing. Darkwood is technically a game where the main story asks you to basically visit. The main thing is you don't know your goals or stories at all time, but ultimately, and this is why Darkwood speed runs are very short and not in an especially interesting way. You kind of just need to run to a series of objectives, and not that many of them, and like activate flags, and then activate the next one. And it's not that tied to the actual day-night cycle and base building mechanics and the idea of having to survive the night and lay traps and all the stuff that's really compelling about that game. You kind of can just run around and trigger all the narrative points really quickly to get away with that. And there's not necessarily enough barriers stopping you that are tied to the core mechanics. Like this game has this whole looping system and upgrades and stuff that you have to do to survive deeper against the hostile stuff. In Subnautica, you literally can't go that deep without getting a bunch of ship upgrades and stuff. And unfortunately, Darkwood doesn't quite make that stuff work, and that's kind of disappointing, but, you know, every game could be better. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick break again. I was born a rambling man. Yeah. Trying to make a living and doing the best I can. 2 hours into this episode, we're going to a plot location. Oh god, oh fuck, will this be a 4-hour episode? My entire fucking trunk is full. I need to fix this, or pick things to throw away. Oh my god, I have no space. It is problem. Okay, we're in perpetual stability. So if nothing else, I can fix some of these How? How is it leaking again? This is fucked up.
Give us the rundown, Francis.
Me?
The electrical grid is your department.
You know the plan as well as I do.
So you'd rather trust me than have to speak up for yourself? Guess you're on your own, driver. Good luck.
Okay, fine. The regular anchors aren't enough to overcharge the arc device to the level we need. But there's an old Anomaly Barricade we can piggyback onto. It's archaic technology, an early attempt to stop anomalies from drifting out into the wider Olympic Peninsula. It worked for some time.
Until it didn't.
But long enough to get the old wall built.
The barricade's in bad shape, but what's a little rampant voltage leakage? Not like the ghosts and goblins of the deep zone will mind. And if they do, more the better for Francis. Huh?
Appreciate the olive branch, Oppie, but boy, do you have a lot to learn about the paranormal. I'd be happy to give you a primer after all this is over.
Hard pass. I'm far too old for that.
This is so much putty.
A current along the barricade, in the same way you did it crossing the old wall. Every connection point needs to be induced within a limited time. Electrify the entire barricade, and we'll have all the power we need.
You heard him. Floor it, driver.
This has been a vicious run for my car. What is this? Side floodlights, low impulse emitter. Did it just gain a bonus side fuel tank out of nowhere? Yeah. They're all... I wasn't using that. Yeah, I'm not gonna carry this. Do not have space for that kind of shit. Might get rid of this nitro boost even. I mean, it's expensive, but it is a... Yeah. I really dislike items that will break permanently. I do not want to make those parts of my car, because have you seen the durability of things in this game? What the fuck are you talking about? Why would I install things on my car that fucking break permanently? Have you not noticed how they work, how this game works? This shit disintegrates. The only reason to bring this with me is to take it home to Okay, this is clearly an invisible wall. The only reason to take the stuff with me is so that I can dismantle it, and they won't even be nice enough to let me do that, because like, oh, it's a precious item, you can't do that. So precious items can go fuck themselves in this entire video game, basically. I do not want to deal with them as a concept. Okay, my car is back to being green. No parts of it are currently leaking for the next 5 minutes until it happens again. What is that? Oh, stop glowing. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh my God. I guess it's a super geyser, huh? For completion's sake, I should try to scan it. Anomaly? They have spikes. Titan's bone. That did 3 damage from the— oh, that's the blacksmith! It's a good thing I scanned it, that's what we need to find. It's just a Ballard, but they're bigger now. My namesake, wow. Eat into how much space. I don't know if I can stack these or not, or if I have to wait until each one finishes healing me. I don't know if it'll collectively keep adding how much it's going to heal me, or how that works. Okay. Got a bit more space now. If I run out of space again, I'm throwing out these decals, because fuck them. Yeah, I'm getting a bit annoyed by my fuel tank leaking all the time. Like, on one hand, there's the incentive to create— you want to create incentive to make the leak-proof tank, obviously, which is worse than the normal tank. But oh, look, one of my tires is already leaking. These all-terrain tires. Jesus, I don't know. Maybe one of them's bald or bad in some way. I feel like I didn't build them that long ago, but I could probably afford replacements. We're doing one of these checkpoints again, it looks like.
You're near the Barricade's operating station. Can you get in there and look around? We need something that'll give us the lay of the land.
But I do feel like the frequency with which it leaks is kind of absurd, and just feels like cruel at some point. Oh, it's misaligned. Rare, but it's an option. But it's like, it's akin to how that front tire would just not stop leaking also, and you're like, come on, man. This is just— at some point, you're just not even doing your job anymore. So we're back with circuit gates. Oh, I'm missing something. Oh yeah, my hammer broke. And then everything went to shit, so I kind of forgot to grab a new one. Because that'll free up a space in the back of my car. Anyway, I have a lot of opinions about video games, and if you ever stuck in a room with me, you can get very long podcasts out of me about the shit, as some people know. Do-do-do. I don't think that every game ever has to be a hardcore survival sim or like a super intense, demanding experience forever. But much like the Marvel movies, I think that there has been such a— because of the less interesting stuff being available and popular, it leads to an entire generation of players that just engages with those kinds of games, and they're kind of like— then when they encounter mechanics that have games that have mechanics, they kind of turn to helpless babies instantly. And so you kind of miss like the older generation of gamers that were playing much more difficult games, even before my time, when they talk about like Nintendo Hard and stuff like that back in the day. This is almost like a missing texture the way it's covered in a square. That's a little suspicious, isn't it? Oh yeah, this is a bug, isn't it? Yeah, it's covered in the squares. That means something's wrong with the textures, I think. Like, games used to be really hard all the time, partly to justify their price and how they weren't that big. But I don't necessarily miss how unfair things were in many cases. But having an audience that was more familiar and used to games being pretty demanding and about overcoming a challenge meant that games were much more free to have interesting mechanical expressions all the time and like have more of a point, essentially. I grabbed the wrong thing. I meant to grab a hammer. I shouldn't need it in here though. And nowadays, the modern AAA space is often about making the games that are as frictionless as possible, while constantly rewarding you with and patting you on the back, and in many cases asking you to pay more money via microtransactions and so on, and coming up with more ways to come up with oh, there we go. Reasons for you to pay more all the time. Nothing there.
I'm uploading the barricade map to your ARC device. By my calculations, if you electrify all 8 posts, you'll have all the power you need. Oppie, does that seem right?
Does it seem right to you?
I think so. Yeah, I ran the numbers a few times, and
Then get to it, driver.
No, I'm out of hammers. It's probably fine because we're near the end of this run-ish. I might not need another impact hammer, but let's grab one just in case. Should have it around. But yeah, I'm out of higher level hammers. Brutal. Yeah, I've been frustrated because I increasingly interact with people who play video games all the time, but they're totally unwilling to engage with them as like an art form. Like what they're saying in the what they're saying, obviously as a narrative, is like people often won't even engage with that on some level. But there's also the question like, what are games saying mechanically, or what is the mechanical purpose of the game? What is it overall going for, and like, what are games capable of? And like that's not being explored in many cases. Because the AAA game space has become so stagnant in pursuit of just what's popular, and what's popular is often undemanding. And it's a bit of that whole, like, Marvel movies are making people dumber kind of vibe, where it's like, you can sound like a boomer or a old man yelling at cloud situation. But there is some level of, like, people who just watch really mainstream movies and then kind of never engage beyond that point with other types of games. I really hope I'm not getting murdered. Okay, I think the arc upgrade is protecting me this time, and I don't have to put that bumper back on. Because it starts to feel really silly when like the Oscars come around. Not to say that the Oscars are incredible inherently, or a genuinely important institution or anything, but like they see the nominees and like, why aren't these all the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies? And it's like, it's not even about they're not being contrarian and refusing to engage with what's popular. It's that the audiences of these movies are refusing to watch other things and really see what this art form is for overall, and what is capable of, and what people are really making these days. They don't have a wide enough experience with art, and so they think that it kind of starts and ends with just popular superhero movies or Star Wars or Harry Potter, and just have really boring art opinions. This guy technically helped me, ow, but not really. So I'll play Resident Evil games, and I'll play some Monster Hunter and a few other things. I do kind of put Capcom on a little bit of a pedestal just for having a pretty decent overall showing. But for the most of the rest of AAA, I kind of don't want to engage. So even as somebody who really likes The Last of Us, I don't really like the glut of third-person cinematic walk and talk games where you do you enter the combat room, then the gathering room, and then the room where you walk slowly forward while a person talks to you, and then the combat room, and then the gathering, and like that formula.
Looking good, driver.
I was hesitant to like I like Guardians of the Galaxy as a movie series, but I was hesitant to play the video game because I would, for similar reasons why I was kind of over playing the God of War remake and stuff like that. It's like increasingly I'm like, okay, I get it, but I don't want to keep playing this type of game so many times without it really iterating and going anywhere. It feels very creatively stagnant in a way that I don't really want to deal with.
Few more to go.
So I feel encouraged when people are like, there's no good video games anymore, because I'm like, yes, they're realizing this stuff kind of blows and it's kind of all the same and it's kind of not that interesting. But then you have to hope that people take the next step and they go check out something like Pathologic or Star Citizen or Darkwood or Pyre. Every time people get really into Hades, I really hope that they go look at the rest of Supergiant's catalog, because Transistor and Pyre are both much more interesting games, whereas Hades was a very crowd-pleasing iteration on the existing roguelike genre that didn't bring a lot to the table. It just brought a lot of polish and presentation and a lot of voice acting, but mostly was representative of where the genre already was and wasn't that remarkable beyond that point, which is why I find that game disappointing. It's good. I can't even say anything is bad about it. It's just the fact that Supergiant is a company that pushed the envelope in a lot of cases, and in the case of Hades, they just iterated on an existing thing in a logical way, which is competent, but it didn't rock my socks the way that Pyre did, as being a very interesting expression of a narrative and mechanics merged together and consequences. We're doing Big Barricade again. I wonder how close we are to the end, actually. We're really close to the top corner, that's for sure. And this might be the thing that unlocks the final mission or something. I'm really curious. In particular, if I know that this is the final run to the final mission at some point, I'd probably then just go say fuck it, and I just like pack what I need to survive, and then I just hurtle towards my objective without gathering at all, because you're not planning on using any of that ever again, if you know what I mean.
We're charged. Arc device readings at 4.2 gigajoules and holding steady.
Okay.
Then we're all set. The arc device is ready to go. It'll hold that charge for as long as we need it.
Oh, for a very long time then. Okay. What do I do? No, leave me alone.
Pedal to the metal, driver. Storm's coming.
Oh, storm's coming, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if we were gonna storm out of here or if I was going to drive towards a destination. And because we often follow these spots by getting a new map, and then I get to warp out of that one. There we go. It was like out of my draw distance. Yeah, you're never a bad person for liking popular things or having a guilty pleasure game that just you just kind of kill time in doing uninteresting stuff in it or whatever. Oh, I don't have a hammer. I don't have that kind of hammer. I also probably shouldn't try to gather right now, but it's the purple stuff. But I just think everybody should take it upon themselves to, from books to comics to video games to movies to shows, should always push themselves to not just watch what's comfortable and what kills time, and also pursue experiences that are like going to bring something new to their life, because like you're only here for so long. And if you care about art, then care about art. Because it shouldn't just be a thing that you use to kill time after work to then go back to work.
Take your time and gear up. No telling what that remnant's going to unleash.
it's comfy to play a thing that just kills time between your shifts at work. But if you're just doing that, then it kind of feels like you're just living to work, like you're just killing time till you get to go back to work.
I sent you something, if you don't mind taking a look.
So it's like, it's important, like whatever your hobbies and interests are, it's good to make them a destination and not just a means of killing an evening or something. So that goes to the kind of throughout the larger human experience, really. Oops. And I get that I have in many cases, it's like an easier experience, so it's easy, so I'm talking from like a place of privilege to some extent. Oopsie. There you go. It's very funny that even after you've already hit it twice, you still have to hold down the button and continue the animation of nothing happening, or it'll undo you repairing it. Ooh. We gave our poor car a rough time back there. Let's nab up this guy. Not that big. Honestly, it would have been faster just to pick it up by hand. Whenever this topic comes up, especially when we have Toaster around, because he's a little meaner about a lot of it, it gets called elitist. And it is on some level, but it's also not really the goal, at least when I talk about it, to be elitist. It's like, the point is that I want everyone to have more impactful and interesting experiences in their life in the time that they have. And also just because my job is to be, if my job is to be a sort of game critic or somebody who experiences tons of games and so on, then like what am I doing if I'm not then trying to communicate to people what they should, like, be a tastemaker and try to direct people in a particular way? Like what's the point of all this if I'm not doing any of it with intent myself? I am out of space for most of this stuff. This is wild. Okay. Owie. Did I miss? I'm gonna hope I can just do all these in a row and then suck up all of them at once, because I don't really want to gather them back up the thing over and over again. Hopefully there's not like a cap on how much stuff can be on the floor. There we go. And that should all go in there. I especially feel like I need to be more tastemakery and take that stuff more seriously, because discover 600 logbook entries, oh my god. Because if I don't, well, I know who else is trying to taste make, and it's a bunch of like anti-SJW Gamergate 2.0 type weirdos who have who are making it their mission to make the world worse. And they always seem to coincide on engaging with art less, while also having the long-term goal of making the world a more dangerous place for me. Like, it's an interesting parallel, but people who engage with art less and less sincerely and so on are also more likely to be bigoted and homophobic and so on. And that's not like an inherent quality, obviously, but it is what has been happening, is that the people who like don't want to engage with art as having meaning, and don't engage with and just think that games are just for it's just no big deal, and it doesn't have a larger purpose, and stop overthinking it. Like that's constantly the messaging from the the anti-SJW, pro-Gamergate, homophobic, racist, sexist nightmare brigade of influencers, and each wave that has as a reactionary force, and that has provenly had a direct connection with the election of Donald Trump the first time around, and maybe even to some extent the second time around. Like, it's all bizarrely interconnected in a deeply frustrating and exhausting way. So, in a bizarre way, and I don't like that this is the case, but me advocating for people to care more about what art means and what it does and what platforms are capable of, or what mediums are capable of, bizarrely does correlate towards, in some cases, people having the opportunity to be better people. And that sounds stupid, like, immediately. Like, I get that. But it's just what's happening. It keeps happening. It's so weird. Ooh.